but that would be too topical. So. They say you don't call on Google Hangouts, you don't speed into the mic, you don't go respond to those work emails, and you don't mess around with Jim. I do, but I
Not gonna lie, looking at everyone's reactions in the background, totally worth it. One person dancing, one person has their head in their hands, and the other person is literally just looking off to the side. So this is great. Hey, buddy.
Yeah, hey, how's it going?
Oh man, I'm in a lot of pain. Got a weird work schedule, and I have to work at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So this is gonna be fun. But honestly, we've got like a really great selection of albums this time. What do you think?
Yeah, it's an eclectic mix. We have some
a lot of lesser known albums.
Yeah, a lot of lesser known ones, and we have some ones that we've kind of talked about a lot, to the point where it's almost meme worthy. But yeah, we have a great panel to talk about these albums. I'm really excited to talk about a few of them. So let's bring everybody in.
Yeah, let's start with spoiler alert: the only other American on the panel, Mr. Cody Newberry. How you doing, my friend?
Two things. Has that always been the lyrics to that song?
And that has always been the lyrics, yeah.
Ooh, fun times. And not dating this. And Bar, I've been telling you this for a lot of years. Get a better job, please. 6 a.m. sounds like hell. So
used to work exclusively 5 a.m.s.
Speaking to people that are like really up early soon. So yeah. to do a music show, so
that's fair. By the way, Cody, what did you bring for us today?
Oh, that's great. This indie album, it slipped through the radars for a really long time. It's by Fleetwood Mac. It's called Rumors. Yeah, it's a little small band.
How do they spell Rumors though? Is it the correct way or the American way?
What?
Thank you. Sure.
Right.
The correct way, maybe. I don't know.
All right. Let's bring in our next guest. Another returning guest to our show. It's Jake Maragoni. Jake, how you doing today? And tell us what you brought.
Doing pretty well, yeah. I feel I had a lot of fun time the last time I was here. So I wanted to, instead of picking an album that I absolutely loved and from an artist that I love, I decided to pick an album that I enjoyed and like a couple of the songs off it, but hadn't really fully discovered and explored. So I thought this would be a good excuse. So I've picked Regina Spektor's 2006 album, Begin to Hope.
Okay. And let's bring in our final Australian, our final guest, one of our favorites. It's Kelli Meehan, all the way from Film Coven. How you doing, Kelli?
Oh, thank you, guys. Oh, I can't live up to the pressure. That's too much. We're not worthy. It feels very bad. Yes. Good.
Well, what do you bring for us today?
I brought Camille Saint-Saens' Carnival of the Animals. So I was here last time and brought some pop punk emo scene shit that didn't play very well. So this time I've brought the class. I brought the classical. I'm really excited to talk about it today.
Kelli, quit downplaying yourself. That pop punk emo album was actually like really good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And I don't say that about pop punk emo a lot. So I brought Starfire by indie country artist Caitlyn Smith. I will break down that a little bit more later on. But Brooklyn, you're going to be starting us off. So what did you bring today?
I brought one of my mom's favorite albums. One of my parents in general, they got to see this guy probably like 10 years before he passed away. And that is Meatloaf's Bad Out of Hell. This is one of the records that we had in our car growing up. The title track I've heard countless number of times. I wanted to bring this album on in particular because this gentleman over here, we got our break, I guess, or like we hopped on a channel with somebody that really loved this album. So there's like we have that attachment to it. But I was like, I want to bring it back. because I know when we did the top 500 list, I think the only ones that we really talked about were Paradise by the Dashboard Light and 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad. And I think
I
this
believe
album,
so. And they weren't even on the official list. They were on ours.
yeah, they were on ours, yeah. So like he, among others, are a couple of artists that are like that are just outside of the realm of like us talking a lot about them. So I wanted to bring this one. And like right from the get-go, you have Bat Out of Hell, which is like this 9-minute epicness. This time coming around, I thought you would dig this a lot more because it reminded me a lot of like The Who and how they kind of set up songs and whatnot. We talk about like the relationship that songwriters have with their with the performers and whatnot. You often think about like Elton John and Bertie Taupin, Meatloaf and Jim Steinman is another one we've talked about before, and how wordy they kind of get, and it kind of works in their favor. Meatloaf's also like incredibly theatrical. Like he obviously has that acting experience, and that shows in you took the words right out of my mouth, and like the I forget the line in particular, but then it cuts back over to her voice, and it's like, I bet she'd say that to all the boys, and then it just cuts right into this like blaring saxophone, and the saxophone is also incredibly prominent. Like all revved up with No Place to Go has no need to be that like just like groovy and like down on the beat. The rhythm section that one in particular is doing a lot of great work, and especially coming on the ending. Paradise by the Dashboard Light, I mean, all-time summer song. Sure, it's not under the boardwalk to some people, but I think it's a great one as well. And then you got some really nice, pretty little ballads. You know, Heaven Can Wait, For Crying Out Loud. For Crying Out Loud had this kind of interesting spot because it obviously kind of ramps up in a typical Meatloaf style. But I find with every artist, they have that one sort of like, or they have that one opportunity to have just them and the piano, and it really gives them a chance to kind of express how they feel in that moment. Like the song that immediately I drew comparison to this one was Michael Jackson's She's Out of My Life, and that same where it's just kind of the with him and whatnot. But I'm curious as to what everyone else has to think, because only 7 tracks, and it's what 46 minutes. It's over 40 minutes. So
I share a very similar story. This is one my parents had on CD. And so they had a banging CD collection, actually. And being an only child, they would rule the CD player. And I think that's where I get like a lot of my varied musical knowledge from, because I just wasn't allowed to play like my stuff. So we had like all my mum's CDs and my dad's CDs, and they had very varied taste. So this was my dad's ones. And it was really cool, like pulling out the different CDs and looking at all the different covers and things. So when I think of this album, that's what I sort of think is that cover and that back CD art and things like that. Because I don't remember it being played as much, but just, manhandling it, so to speak. But these are the sort of songs that like I've heard on different occasions on their own. So maybe not the whole album through, if that makes sense, because you hear like the big hits like Paradise by the Dashboard Light or You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, but I hadn't heard like the album in its entirety in quite a long time. So I did enjoy that. I like what you're saying about like the theatricality of it all, because I like You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, because any song that has in it, straight away, like when you get that audience interaction, I always think of that thing you do as well. Like they add it to that thing you do. That clap, that 1-2 is just it ignites something in you, and it ignites the joy, I would say. So yeah, I had a good time with this one. But Bat Out of Hell title track is still like, it's a classic. It's such a classic. It was like the opening song, that one, but the radio edit version I found from YouTube to MP3, which is not the first time I'm going to bring that up this this episode. Was like the 3.5-minute versions, because cut out a lot of the intro just to get started to like the sun stream, and it's like, yeah, let's go, we're driving.
This album is obviously it's fantastic. I'm pretty sure that everyone on this panel has heard this album before, if not like a majority of the songs. Cody's never heard of this thing before.
Nope.
He just heard Meatloaf and he just got hungry.
That's
Meatloaf.
It's so weird to think that an album with like, first of all, this kind of artwork, this kind of voice, and this kind of production is so like 50s Americana kind of connected. Like, there's a lot of like little rockabilly and like 50s style like bled into the instrumentation of this album, and it's just really cool because it's such a really great mental image as you're listening to this album. Like especially when you connect it to the lyricism, which is just like the most over the top but like brilliant lyricism. Like the one line from 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad about crying icicles. Like, it's such a vivid image that this album creates, and it's absolutely fantastic. Jim Steinman is one of the greatest songwriters, in my opinion. I've always loved everything that he's ever done, whether it be with Meatloaf, with Bonnie Tyler, etc., etc. Yeah, it's just such an incredible album experience. My dad had this CD, so I heard this multiple times growing up. Yeah, it's an all-timer for a very good reason.
I'll speak. Can I speak, Cody? Or do you want to go?
You sure can,
I'm so
buddy.
submissive when you're on. Let's go.
Anything you want to do, buddy.
I would just say, like, I'm about to show that I'm an uncultured swine. My introduction to Meatloaf was through the movie Fight Club when I was 14. I watched that and went, oh, okay, this guy, Meatloaf. Didn't really know he was a singer until I was a little bit older, and I was like, oh, okay, this guy does music. Okay, who cares? I want to watch Fight Club still. But when I got a little bit older and my music taste started to grow and change, I decided to check out some of the older 70s stuff and got into Bad Out of Hell. Only listened to the first track and I was like, oh, this is a banger. This is great. I'm just going to keep listening to this song forever. And that's usually what I'll do. Sometimes I'll listen to an album or a little bit and be like, I'm just going to take the song and then move on. So I would just listen. So I love Bad Out of Hell. Like, it's an incredible rock song, and one I've listened to like hundreds and hundreds of times. I'm going to tell a little bit of story. This is a little embarrassing, but I'm just going to say, you took the words right out of my mouth. The first time I ever made out to a girl was this song. Just wanted to point that out.
Let's go.
Nice. I can't even remember. I'm not really sure if I could tell you the first song I made out with somebody too.
I just remember this very
ideas.
vividly playing, and just the moment was
That's
there.
so cheesy. It's amazing. That's gonna go in your
perfect.
biopic now.
But I wanted to just point that out. So I know these two first songs quite well, and through this, I got to actually really listen to the other songs, and yeah, he's just so bombastic. And me and my friend Abby are big fans of his second Bad Out of Hell album. We love I Do Anything for Love. Like, that's just a song.
Kind of an incredible thing to accomplish, like creating a sequel to this particular album and having that album be almost as good as this one.
I think it's just as good, but yeah.
Yeah. It Just Won't Quit is probably my favorite track off of that record. Arguably like in like the top 3 of his entire discography.
Yeah, it's an incredible album, but Bad Out of Hell does just have like such like ultimate bangers. I think Bad Out of Hell, you took the words right out of my mouth. 2 out of 3 and Bad. Paradise by the Dashboard. Like when you Andrew, when you're talking about like the 50s sort of rock and roller or whatnot, like I really feel that from Paradise by the Dashboard, where that just like I just feel like I can picture the world that this song would be playing in. And yeah, he's just there's not that he's deep, but it's just he's all about just the entertainment, the fun and the exhilaration of his songs. And also then he would just have like these ballads that are just like kind of poignant and beautiful throughout, which I think is really nice. So I like that he plays around with with the songs and the music, but I just think it's just hard because we're going to be talking about like 2 of the best albums of all time, and this is one of them. This is like a lot of pressure.
So when I first listened to this album, I thought I was doing something wrong. I grew up in Midwest USA, Bible country, and I was like, Bad Out of Hell, what the fuck is this? Let's listen to this down in the basement.
Let's start some sinning.
Turned out not the most like maybe Jesus has problems with it. I'm not sure. But overall, I had a great time, and it unlocked a lot through this album. Listen, Meatloaf wrote an entire song about convincing a girl to have sex with him, and then the girl standing up for herself and like, I'm not doing this unless you love me. Fine, I love you. And then they get married, and he hates his life for the rest of his time because he had sex one time with his woman, and she ruins his life because he doesn't want to be with her forever. But he at least committed to it. So that's out there. 2 out of 3 Baddie writes a love song where you think like, oh, you only got 2 of these qualities. That's fine. I'll still no, fuck you. You only 2 of them. You're not bad, but not enough for me. Like, he's over the top. He's dramatic. He's literally out of a flippin'. He made his name out of a flippin' diner food of Meatloaf. Like, wrote 7 songs that are absolutely just fucking great. I remember listening to Paradise by the Dashboard Lights when I was younger, singing in the car, like all the family. And then it was about like 13, and when the song came on again, and I sat there and I looked at my sister and I was like, this is about sex. Like, we're all as a family just rocking out this, to just convincing her just to let him hit it. And we're like, it was like the whole thing. And then I was like, oh my God. And then I watched Grease later that weekend, and I was like, oh my God.
Cody aged 3 years,
like,
and
everything just like the veil was torn, and I saw perfectly. So it was weird. It was a great time, but I love this album. It's only 7 songs, but they go so well. My 2 are always 2 out of 3. Ain't bad in Paradise, but Bad Out of Hell is so good. And there's I love that you got your first makeout to You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth. It's great songs. When you picked this, I was like, I am safe, because I'm always so terrified to come on this show because people are way more musically inclined than me, and they pick some shit that I hate. I was like, Brooklyn gets a clean pass tonight. This is going to be great. So, yeah. And then we have PTSD from this album, too. So, we did other channels. So that's fun.
Shared trauma is the best trauma.
It makes you
it's trauma bonding.
Trauma bonded is real.
I do want to say, I think...
Yeah.
Go ahead, you first, Kelly.
Does anyone know off the top of their head who the female vocalist is on
her name is
Ellen Foley. Ellen Foley.
She wails, like, in a crucial taunt sort of way. Like, she deserves some props for making these songs just as good as well, because, like, that stop right there, it's amazing. It stops the whole track. It's great.
Is she the same person who on You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, she does that, love you? Because
I believe so, yeah.
Oh,
She's credited as a backup vocalist on Bad Out of Hell, You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth, All Revved Up, and Paradise.
Mm-hmm. I do want to say one thing. I think Hot Topic owes a lot to the opening of You Took the Words Right Out of My Mouth. The whole...
The vampire feels.
Yeah, like the whole do you
very
like move up your
Twilight
neck to the wolf with the red rose? And I'm like,
yeah.
Okay, so what Hot Topic employee is the nephew of Jim Steinman for them to write and record that?
Is Hot Topic the same over in Australia that it is for us here?
We don't
have Hot Topic.
Okay.
No.
Just making sure. I just want to know.
I don't even know what compare like.
Do you guys have a Spencer's?
As an emo girl of the mid-2000s, we had nothing.
That is something that is
they didn't cater to the emo golf girls of the 2000s.
That you were either too scared to walk into Hot Topic at a certain age, and then you're like, we have to go into Hot Topic at a certain age. Like, it was like this graduation system into Hot Topic.
We had a lot of Emily the Strange jokes, so like whenever you went to the surf shops and you saw that, like that was the vibe.
City Beach. Did you ever have City Beach?
City Beach. Oh,
yeah.
Fuck yeah, City Beach.
Yeah,
that's our type of vibe you'd find.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think with that, we're going to move on to scores. So, Brooklyn, this is your baby. Give us what is obviously coming.
So I'm actually not going to give it a 10. I'm going to give it a 9.7, I would say. The only reason I'm docking at points is just because of the arrangement, and then obviously because of what we know now. Paradise by the Dashboard Light is an incredible song. I don't necessarily agree with For Crying Out Loud being the closer. I don't know. It doesn't really. It's good.
You
every
don't
song
like
on
the
there is
ending
great.
to that song?
But I don't like, for crying out loud, being the closer. Like,
It-
Of
imagine
the album.
Perfect escalation
Oh.
to like this
Yeah.
grand.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. My favorite track is obviously going to be Paradise by the Dashboard Light. I want to shout out Max Weinberg on the drums, especially at the end of that baseball analogy.
Holy shit, that's Max Weinberg?
That's Max Weinberg, yeah. And he's
He's
just
going into
he's
second
going
base, so
full
slow.
ham, and then that stop right there. It's just incredible. My least favorite, and I'm not even gonna say that it's a bad song, is Heaven Can Wait. Of the ballads, it is my least favorite. It is the most lullaby-y, but I understand the placement of it because you took the words right out of my mouth and all revved up right in between. So I think you do need that kind of break to appreciate both songs on either end.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. One last thing I want to say.
No.
Paradise by the Dashboard Light. That groove, if you ever hear that groove live during the baseball analogy, they extend that groove, and what a tight arrangement that is. Also why I chose it as my favorite.
Let's go to Cody next.
What a stupid 9.7. We give point all the way up to that. I hate that. So I'm going to give it a 10 because I can. Paradise by the Dashboard Lights is my favorite. Again, it has baseball, so it helps. And then I love I'm praying for the end of time. So I think that was just brilliant how he wrote that. I'm kind of with Brooklyn too. I said Heaven Can Wait. Of the songs, one I could go without, but not like I will still listen to the whole album and have a damn good time. So plus it's 7 songs, so it's a perfect like run of an album. It doesn't over.
Oh,
I don't think
the
if he
runtime
went
is
too long,
spectacular.
it could have been awful. It could have been awful.
I've been saying on this show for like almost a year now that like the perfect sweet spot of runtime for an album is like between 40 minutes to like 55 minutes. And like this hits that perfect sweet spot. Jake, let's go to you.
This is an absolute masterclass of an album. I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. I would say my favorite song is Bad Out of Hell. This is the one I'm just so used to, and I love that one, and that's one I still listen to this day. I'm not super negative on any of the songs, but I would probably just say Heaven Can Wait is also just like my least favorite. Just it's like of the songs, this is the one I remember the least, but it's a great album regardless.
Kelly.
I'm going to go with 9, only in the sense that I'm just like still getting familiar with the back end or like the not chart toppers. And so my favorite's going to be Bad Out of Hell as well. That is just, if you haven't driven your car to that song, it goes off. My least favorite, I can't pick. I'm just going to jump on the bandwagon because I was like, some of the ballads weren't hitting. So that's probably the one I'm probably thinking of. So I'm going to go with Heaven Can Wait as well. And just go with the herd mentality.
Well, I'm also going to go with the herd mentality because that was going to be my pick. And score-wise, I'm giving this a 9.75.
I hate everything. This scoring is literally just anti-Cody scoring. That's all.
A 9.75.
A 9.75.
I love it.
The one thing was really that Wolf with the Red Rose thing. Just like every time that comes up, I'm like, this just brings the album to a grinding halt.
You need to do YouTube to MP3, my friend, because they cut that shit out.
Well, I'm going to be doing that then. But yeah, no, it's one of the greatest albums of all time. Let's be honest, it really is. It's 7 songs, 46 minutes, but like every song hits incredibly well.
I would say it's the best album we're going to talk about, but then we have to talk about the next one.
Well, thank you for the segue because, hey, Cody, remind us about that little indie album that you decided to bring on again.
Yeah, so I've been famous on this show. I've done this once, but I always tell them, like, Brooklyn's going to say the key changes and the atmosphere and the blah, 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 and the bullshit.
He'll bring that up later.
I will.
I did slight work on this, all right? So,
You worked on this album?
I did some work to know what to describe, okay? So, listen, I will tell every band in the future to do this, is I think if you are are dating inside of a band, and you're going through breakups, you have to just fucking deal with it and go through the process and let the art come from it. I think it's brilliant. I've always wanted this in a biopic. Like, I want the breakdown of this. I think it has such a story of how Rumors was made. Basically, the 5 members of Fleetwood Mac, they were going through a lot of shit at the time. Basically, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were splitting up at the time. Chrissy and John McVie were divorcing. Mick Fleetwood was dealing with his own wife's affair, and they were also deal with fame and drug use, all of it, all at the same time. So basically, they wrote a 11 track album that is all over the place, but basically tells the story of just all the shit that they were dealing with at the time. Secondhand News, the first track on the album, is basically dealing with Buckingham's heartbreak over Nick's leaving him. Dreams was basically written from Stevie Nicks' perspective, a response to the breakup with him. Never Going Back Again was an acoustic track about moving forward from the heartbreak. Don't Stop was written from Chrissy McVie, the optimistic song of looking forward after the alleged, directed by John. Go Your Own Way was Buckingham's angry anthem about breaking up with Nicks, featuring a great guitar solo inside that. Songbird, Chrissy McVie dedicated for Unconditional Love. Basically, the chain is all accompanied together. One of the best songs from the track. You Make Loving Fun was Chrissy McVie's song about her affair with the so-called band lighting director at the time, so that's always fun. And they just they just poured everything into this album, which they just stayed there. Don't Want You to Know, another Nicks written track about romantic pain. Oh Daddy was basically the only song about a father figure of the band's, and then one of the great songs is Gold Dust Woman, which is basically an eerie song by Nicks about fame, excess, struggles with drugs all at the time. Yeah, and then they said, you know what, fuck it. We're just going to sit and write an album about all the fucking rumors and everything going on and then stay in the long recording sessions. It's one of the greatest albums that I've ever got to. Brooklyn showed it to me because I knew songs from Rumors, he didn't just I wasn't living under a rock and he said, here you go, here's some water, and what is this liquid? But overall I knew stuff, but this was just an insane storytelling. I think it needs to play into a movie. Like I said, I think they have such an interesting thing. And yes, if you're in a band and you decide to start sleeping around and it doesn't work out for you, or you start dating and you break up, write music about it. It probably will help your career. Or kill you, I don't know. But yeah, that's Rumors. I did some work. Thank you. I don't know what key or what interjection or any of that shit is in, but it's good.
All right, let's have Brooklyn go first because I know he's on a time crunch. So.
Oh, okay. Has anybody heard of this album before?
Oh, yeah.
Perfect. Just figured to get that out of the way. I had a similar story to Cody. I knew songs from the album before I knew the album itself. Obviously, Go Your Own Way and Don't Stop to an extent. But my first memory of the entirety of this album was at a family Christmas party. It was typical for us to have dinner, and then a bunch of us would grab guitars and then we'd start singing. My uncle and my aunt started playing Secondhand News, and I didn't know what that song was about, or didn't know that it was by Fleetwood Mac. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And then I want to say it was 8-9 years ago, I really fell in love with it. I threw it on one Saturday afternoon, and I was like, perfect, I'm sold. Every one of these is a single in its own way. Songbird, actually, I couldn't listen to for a good number of years, just because of how touching and heartfelt it is, especially if you want to sing it to kind of someone you love. There's even songs they kind of ebb and flow. I wasn't a fan of Don't Stop for a while because it sounded kind of simple, but then it's kind of come back into the limelight. I work I don't know, I work at a pub, and we got a lot of bands that come in, and it's almost a necessity for a band to play at least one song from this record. Most often it's Dreams. The odd time you get The Chain. But even like we talked about Dreams on the 500 series, and how effective it is with just 2 chords, and it just creates all that tension. Secondhand News is an incredible one. I love the beat in that, and especially how it closes out. Never Going Back Again is this incredibly intricate guitar song. They do like a tuning that isn't really super commonplace. They kind of drop D, but then they change a couple other things in it and whatnot. The Chain, one of my favorite moments in an MCU movie, and like just the harmonies in that are incredible. And then Gold Dust Woman, an incredible closer, and especially like Now Tell Me, Is It Over Now? Do You Know How?
They
pick
don't
up the
deserve
pieces.
The Chain, but that's just
But yeah, I'll let everyone else talk. This is it's a great album.
My experience with Fleetwood Mac was I feel like for most of us it's just we know the songs before we know the artist, or at least I'm mainly speaking on my experience on this, because I didn't really know who Fleetwood Mac was until I was a teenager, and I feel like it's sort of embarrassing that it took me a little bit longer than usual. Not that my parents never listened to Fleetwood Mac, they definitely did, my mum more so, but I would just be like, oh, that's the Go Your Own Way song. I'd be like, okay, I know that one, I know Don't Stop, and I know a couple of the other ones like Rhiannon and Seven Wonders from the other albums, but never really fully knew who Fleetwood Mac was until Mum was just like, what do you mean you don't know who Fleetwood Mac was? Here, listen to Rumors. And I was like, okay, cool. And then going through them, I'm like, okay, I know this from this movie. Okay, I know this song from this movie. Okay, I've heard this from this ad that played in Australia in the mid-2000s.
The car ad? Go Your Own Way?
Thank you. Go Your Own Way. 100%. Hear that all the fucking time.
Wow, we
struck
some like core memory there. That's like
it's just like you get these songs just like, okay, like it's so ingrained in pop culture, and then when you actually listen to it, you're like, oh my god, like they all come from the same album. That's like part of why I'm like, this is the best album, because there's so many just like memorable songs where you go, oh, like they're all great. Like I completely forgot about Secondhand News, but when we were just listening to it again for this, I was just like, how did I just like not know or remember that this is part of this album? Like, this is great. And then obviously you go into Dreams, and then Never Going Back Again, Don't Stop. Like, just banger after banger. And yeah, I think that the hardest thing for me is just going to be like, which song do I think is the best one? Because I think there's so many good ones, but they're just it's so weird. Like, there's a lot of there's songs that are really like emotional and are personal stories, but then you have the ones that are just like going to be fun and bangers. And I don't know how they're able to sort of thread that line, but it's they do it extremely well. I think the build up to The Chain and then sort of the escalation down to Gold Dust is very well done. It's a hard album to talk about because it's just there's so many good stuff that I'm just like, this is a great one because of this, and Don't Stop, and The Chain. But incredible song. So I was very happy that I got to just listen to this. This is good. I feel good about my life.
Is Jake's mic going in and out?
Yeah,
I might. I'll come out and come back.
All right. Kelli, you go next.
Oh, I've had a bit of a different journey than everyone else. So this is one my parents had on CD, and I really wish Jake was here for this story. Jake, get back here, because I'm talking West Australia, and no one else is going to understand this reference. I'll give him 5.
He's in the back.
4. He can hear me? Okay. Well, down the west coast of Australia is a 16-hour drive from the northwest to the main city. So this is one I've heard multiple times because you couldn't fly your family down. This is like my family's road trip CD, this and the Simon & Garfunkel like double CD greatest hits. So this is one like I've heard in my subconscious at 3 a.m. when they would like throw me in the car and then drive me like, down south. So this isn't one I actually went back to this time because this is one of those, Kelli, this is a soundtrack of your life. Like this is ingrained in your DNA. One of those type of ones where like I can hear everything without having to hear it again. Yes, and then my dad also had the Rumours piano book, so would play Songbird very much. And I really like what you're saying, Brooklyn, about the tuning of Never Gone Back Again, because he talked about that a lot, and Dreams of not translating to piano very well. Like really some things are just so guitar centric that you can't move it over when it just never sounds the same. So yeah, this album, I always think of Flight of the Conchords, season 1, episode 1. They walk into, do you know where I'm going with this, Jake?
I've not seen Flight of the Conchords, I'm sorry.
Oh,
no, I know.
They walk into the thrift store and the album covers on the wall. It's like, oh, greatest album of all time. What, rumors? Nah, true. So I had to do it. But yes, it's a beautiful album. I like that you have some upbeat songs mixed with some of the most heart-wrenching ballads you can hear. I'll talk a bit more when we get to favorite songs and stuff. But when I come on the show, I'm always going to talk from like a personal level and my memories and I'm sort of connected with everything. So that's what this one is to me. It's like, it's a nostalgia one. It's one that you pass down. And I think that's beautiful. It's always going to stay in the pop culture as one of the greatest albums ever. And I love that it keeps getting refound. So we talk about Dreams, and you can't say that that's not found another audience in Gen Z with like being a TikTok song and stuff like that. So it's going to be in the music zeitgeist forever for sounding so 70s specific. It sounds like that funky bass line on You Make Loving Fun really just sounds so of the era, but it's going to always be a artistic piece that resonates with a lot of people. So,
it's also like a weirdly timeless album as well. Like I hear some of these songs and I'm like, I don't think of this coming from the 70s. Like I think like Go Your Own Way, Don't Stop, Dreams to a certain degree, but like some of these I'm just like, they just feel like they just exist forever. Like I don't picture like a 70s time period for them.
And you know what will do that? Great fucking production. Great fucking production will always enhance how good a song is.
Hey, when we talk about production.
Well, get ready. Because this is one of the best produced albums ever made. Just like the layering, the mixing, just like the way it surrounds you no matter what like you're in, whether it be a car, your house, like just walking and just listening to headphones. The spatialness of it is just absolutely incredible. Yeah, a lot of these songs are just some of the greatest songs ever made. Like Don't Stop, Dreams, Go Your Own Way, The Chain, You Make Loving Fun, Gold Dust Woman. Like there's a reason that like 80 to 90% of this album still gets heavy rotation on like any grocery store radio that you listen to.
Yeah, 100%.
And just like, no, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, I used to work in retail, and like we always heard "Go Your Own Way." We always heard "Don't Stop." Like there are those songs where it's just like it is ingrained in pop culture, but also it's just like it is universal. It is everywhere.
And those are always the stations that people will walk up to the cashier and be like, "Wow, your station is great." Literally just throw on any song from this album and you'll have customers being like, this is one of the better music stations of any like retail place I've been at.
We're just playing some of the best songs of all time. Yeah.
Well, yeah, exactly. All of the vocalists on here are just absolutely fantastic. Lindsey Buckingham's performance on Go Your Own Way and The Chain in particular are incredible. And then, man, Christy's vocals on You Make Loving Fun and the vocals on Oh Daddy in particular are just absolutely incredible. I love them. And I cannot imagine being in the same recording room with some of these lyrics flying around. Because they're fucking cutting. Particularly on Never Going Back Again and Dreams. Like those songs, like if I'm in that recording studio and I know that this is written specifically about me, I'm like, all right, you just opened the book, you just opened the chapter that you don't want to read because I'm going to come right back. Yeah.
Like Buckingham was going for Stevie Nicks' throat, like through this entire thing. I don't know if she called it quits or what the situation was, but she was like, he's like, fuck her. Like he was like, like, can you imagine just like playing like drums and like looking at both of them like I'm ready.
Took
Maybe you don't
Fleetwood just being like,
understand if that's not your native language. Good God. I mean, I got cheated on. This fucking sucks, but you two are together. Like, this is weird.
Also,
Go team. Go team. We having dinner tonight?
It's crazy that because like I remember John Mulaney did that bit of like, oh, like were you and the Eagles together? But like the Eagles are almost more well known for like the breakup band, but like these guys were like, yeah, like Andrew was saying, like literally at each other's throats, and they still made this record.
Well, I'm even more surprised that they still were together after the album. You think like they've reached an artistic sort of peak, and then they were like, okay, I think after all this shit that's going on with this album, we should probably split off and do our own music. But no, they made
they
a
did
couple
so
of
well that they were
All
like,
right, band, I have a song. I want to do secondhand news. You ready for it? And just everybody looking at Stevie like, you hear? Do you hear this? This is about you. Just let you know. Like,
but it's just so crazy
Um,
that they went through all that and were
Yeah.
still like, yeah, let's keep making music together. And I mean, I'm glad they did because I'm a big fan of Tango in the Night, right? I just completely blanked on the album
Yeah.
there.
I
That's a
don't
great. I love that album and Seven Wonders and oh my god,
Tusk.
ugh,
Tusk.
what's
Like-
this? Yeah, there's some great everywhere. I love Everywhere and Seven Wonders.
Yeah.
Like they still were able to make like bangers and shit. Like after this album.
I just think it's crazy that Mick is sitting there as the one that is not. Both groups are paired together,
He's
and
Switzerland.
they have decided to cheat and separate from me, or however it worked. And he's just over there, and also dealing with his wife cheating on him as well, and then just having to play drums while like the most contentious, like I think it needs to sound like this. I think it needs to sound like this. And instead of like breaking apart and like this never happens, they actually sat in a room and did this, which is, I think, one of the greatest like music miracles that has ever happened. Because like, I don't know if everybody's went through breakups, but some of my breakups, if we had to work on like, I don't know, putting a poster board together, the poster board's in half and someone's crying and the other person's left. Like, it's not happening. So I don't know. Crazy.
Imagine that as an exercise. All right, before you guys get divorced, write a song.
So 11 tracks, please. Just if you could, just real quick. You're contractually obligated.
and I
please.
want
Thank you.
3 out of the 5 of you to sing on this.
Yeah, make it a banger. Make it a banger. Thank you.
I'm going to say something though that's going to piss people off. I think secondhand news is not that great. I think it's
I
very
don't think
good.
it's great either.
No, I think it's
That's
very
fine
good.
with that.
Then what do
you
you
compare
what
it
do
to
you want
the
as the
rest of
opener
the
then?
album, it's not as good.
People.
No, what do you
agreed.
want as the opener then?
Dreams. I think Dreams is the opener. I think you open up with those drums.
I think if it's not going to be secondhand news, I think you should open with "Go Your Own Way." That's my.
Me too.
mindset.
That's
Go
a
Your
I
Own
think
Way.
start with something big and then start with Dreams, because I also think the story with both, because they're both sister songs essentially. I think that would work.
But that guitar at the opening of Secondhand News is a great like rev up.
Yeah, I was just saying, I do think this is the perfect song to open with.
I just want this on the record, and I don't want to throw shots, but this is coming quite rich, coming from Modern Country Boy up at the top left. I just want that on the record. Modern Country, Stadium Country Boy coming from the top, telling me that this song not that great. Well, let me tell you,
when you compare it to
not
the rest
that
of the
great
album.
is coming, and it's called your album, but we'll get there. But
Oh shit!
Okay, that's great.
I'm
I'm just
glad I
saying,
get to leave in like a
it's still really good, but when I compare it to the rest of the album, it's easily the weakest spot.
yeah, if I have an appetizer that doesn't hit and I have a fucking fantastic meal, guess what? I'm not shit talking the appetizer at the end. I had a great fucking meal.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, the
if you
waiter
flip
was
it
a
between
dick to me at the
O'Daddy and
beginning, but he
Gold
filled
Wolf
up my
Stuff,
drink every time, and I tipped him well. What are we talking about here?
I'm also
We're
being
now on to
infamous
tipping culture
for
is
not
at
being
like 500
good at tipping. So,
Who's your favorite artist?
Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, let's talk about that for like stop it. Get out.
All right, let's move on. Cody, what are your score? What's your score? Your favorite and least favorite?
So I'm not gonna play your game. I'm not giving you a least favorite because I don't have one personally. So I would just be naming a song that I like them all. I listen to the entire album. I have a great time. It's so weird. Because I like the famous ones are like the popular ones I do really enjoy. Because I lie to myself if I don't love Go Your Own Way. Like I absolutely and Dreams and The Chain. But I really like, and I got more appreciation from this time than before, Gold Dust Woman. I will throw my hand on that one. I think the shit she was dealing with and like how to be as vulnerable as she was on this album, because gosh, I can just imagine, because guys are douchebags and we can fake a lot of things in our lifetime. Like she had to deal with like everything, and then like the being the one of the main singers, and like all the excess and the fame that goes along being like in Hollywood and at that time, and like being popular. And that song is one of the most vulnerable songs out there. So I'll put it behind that. And 10.
Okay.
If I could go 11, I'd go 11.
That's fair. I'm gonna go next. Least favorite song is easy. It's Secondhand News. It's still a very good song, but when it just compared to the rest of these other songs, it doesn't.
Have you ever
hold
gotten
as well.
Secondhand News?
Fair. Favorite song is The Chain. I think I had put it in my top 10 songs of all time when we did our 500 list. Just that guitar solo at the end and the way the bass leads up to it, just building that tension. And then just the way that everyone's harmonizing, just chain. Amazing. 9.8. Kelly.
This is obviously, as I said before, one of the greatest records ever made. I will agree with Andrew. Actually, I don't like Secondhand News as much. So I was, when we're talking about how great it is, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna sit on my opinion then. So thank you for being brave and telling your truth that I may jump on it as well. And it's for a lot of the same reasons. It's not a bad song. It's just that Brooklyn, you said about how every song could be a single, and I think that's true except for Secondhand News and I Don't Want to Know. That's the other ones that I can sort of be like meh a little bit on. And then I'm going to cheat again and say I'm picking two favorites. I love Never Going Back Again. It sounds like the rain to me, and I don't know what that means, but it just does.
No, it makes sense. I get it.
It's something about, it's like a drip drop of that guitar, and it's very atmospheric and very lullaby-ish and beautiful and haunting at the same time. And that being down one time, like the big note. I love a big soaring note. My other favorite obviously is going to be Songbird for a lot of the same reasons I said before. I'm someone who's very lyric heavy. And I'm not a romantic person. It's going to come up when we talk about Jake's album as well. I do not love sappy love songs. No, in a good way. I don't like sappy love songs. I don't like Perfect by Ed Sheeran. I don't like Wonderful Tonight. Like, I don't like any of that put you on a pedestal shit.
Not Wonderful Tonight.
I don't know, because I don't want to know how I look to you, and I don't want to know like this made up version of what it is to be in love. But I love honest love, like in Songbird, where it says, for you there will be no more crying, to you I will never be cold. Those are the sort of lyrics that I really love, and I think show someone's heart and soul in it all. So that one's always going to have a special place in my heart. So yeah. 10.
All right, Jake.
I'm going to give this a 9.9 3/4. I think this is an incredible album.
I love it.
The thing I've been really struggling with is to pick my favorite song, and I think I'm going to cheat as well, Kelly. I'm going to pick two. I'm going to pick The Chain, and just out of spite, I'm picking Secondhand News as well, because that song is great, and I don't care what you all think. I think that's a good song, and I like it. I think it opens.
I'm gonna
pick a second one too. I'm gonna do Secondhand News.
Yes.
I'm gonna pick a second one as well. Then I'm gonna go with "You Make Loving Fun" because that song's actually kind of skyrocketed it.
The thing is,
I love that.
There's
one.
no bad answers when you say what's your favorite. They're all like great. The thing I'm really struggling is like, do I have one that I think is like the weakest? And I think just by default, I'm gonna say Oh Daddy because that's just the one I don't really remember that well. I think the rest of them are like memorable to me, but it's a great album.
Yeah, this is a 10. Very very clearly a 10. It'd be weird if I didn't rank it anything else. I'll give 2 for favorites, but they've already talked about The Chain and Gold Dust Woman. Gold Dust Woman, incredible closer. Chain, I played that bass line before I even knew what the song was. Least favorite though, a little different though. You Make Loving Fun. It's the more like generic of the ones. Like it doesn't really stand out as like I don't know. It doesn't hit with me like the others do.
That song makes me want to wear something sheer with long sleeves and spin around and sing the song.
Me too.
Like I want to wear a caftan and spin around and You Make Loving Fun.
What song did he say?
You Make Loving Fun.
Yeah.
How high does that rank on your list?
I think that's the highest ever.
So Rumors and Bat Out of Hell are now number 1 and 2 on our collective list.
You can't celebrate the cheap win, Cody.
Yeah.
How many episodes have you had of this?
This is 13.
Yeah, 13.
Oh, anybody had a chance? Yeah. I brought it. Thank you. I'll go.
All right, let's move on. Hey, Kelli.
Hi.
Tell us about this this loud,
I'm picking an even more indie artist, the one that people might not have heard, I'm just going to kick it really old school. If we want to make up fake achievements, is this the oldest record that you guys have had on?
Technically speaking, yes.
Woo! No, I've been really getting into... I've always been a fan of classical music, but I have been especially pursuant of it in the last year, been going to orchestra and things like that. And I've been lucky to have my great uncle, who was a big influence in my life. We would wake up in the morning and play 97.7 classical FM. So he imparted a love of classical music onto me. Carnival of the Animals is classical for dummies. And I mean that in the nicest way. It's written to be entry level, because one of the things I think is a fallacy about classical music is that it's very pretentious or that it's hard to get into. I'm going to say this to everyone listening, because we all come from movie trivia. If you're a scores and soundtracks person, there is no reason you do not like classical music, because that is the major influence for everything there. And when I started reframing my perception of classical music is when I started to enjoy it a lot more, because I do think it is a little bit difficult to find an entry point. It's ones that we've all heard of before. We can probably all name a Beethoven track or a Mozart track, but we don't really know when they came out. Unless you start looking at it, you don't know what period it's from or what the influence is, but it is very similar to scores and soundtracks, where you can see the different ages, and when you start to dive into it all and find your artists, you find their trademarks and their hallmarks. So I've picked Camille Saint-Saens. He's comes from that sort of impressionist romantic era. So he has big influence from Mozart and from Beethoven, and they did write these pieces back in the day to be your forms of entertainment, to be your forms of movies before we had movies. So they are taking you on a journey with each one. But sometimes I think that isn't always easy to process, especially in our day and age where we like to be spoon-fed everything. I think that's difficult. Whereas Carnival of the Animals, I think it is very easy to picture each animal or each thing as the tracks are going on. You can hear the hens pecking in the morning. You can hear the donkeys and the slowness of what it breaks down. So that's what I mean. It's classical for dummies. It's a really good little way of introducing you to what classical music is trying to tell you with the different instruments and the different parts of the song all coming together. Saint-Saens just been one of my favorites for a very long time. I love the Egyptian, especially recently. And yeah, I'm just happy to bring it up today. It's been something that's been bringing me a lot of joy. Usually I've been starting my days at work like with this album. It's a swift 25 minutes. It's a beautiful little symphony, and it's a good little start point, and I can't wait to hear what you guys thought of it.
Brooklyn, start, because I know you have to leave soon, and you can also give your score and favorites.
Oh, perfect! I was just gonna send it to you anyways. Surprise! I'm a band geek. I love this shit. This is my cup of tea. My favorite thing about this album is I loved the expressiveness in certain pieces. Like in particular, like Henson Cox, like that moment. I initially, before even hearing before even knowing what the title was called, I equated it to like the flower moments, like almost like a flower coming up in bloom, and how they kind of creak up and whatnot. There's some things out of this album that I think have leaked into pop culture, like that introduction and Royal March, like the ringing of the piano reminds me oddly enough of like the Wii menu. Like when you open it up and you kind of hear like the ringing of the bell.
I love that.
Kangaroos is another expressive one. How they get the pianos to kind of like you literally hear them like hopping around and whatnot. Aviary is an incredible showcase of like the woodwinds, the flutes and all that and whatnot. Wild Asses is surprisingly metal. It's basically doing the same thing that you would hear on a guitar, like when they're shredding. And that sort of style. Aquarium has this really cool like Harry Potter-esque kind of arrangement and whatnot. The Swan is a great Yo-Yo Ma highlight piece. I'm a sucker for cello. Cello is like the last instrument that I want to learn. It's just so natural sounding. Rating right quick. I'll give it an 8.2 out of 10. My least favorite, unfortunately, is Pianists, because it sounds like a warm-up song. And Cody's gonna roll his eyes whenever I say this. You can hear them doing like Kelli, you'll understand what I mean. Like when you're doing like the fifths, like all right, play the first 5 notes and then come back down. They're doing that, and like in theory it works. I think it's neat how it's like one hand is going up while the other hand is going down, and you kind of get that engine of it and whatnot. But yeah, I almost want to hear that first, rather than in the middle of it. My favorite is the finale. And the reason I love Finale, it is in one of my favorite movies, one of my favorite concert experiences. It is the song that they use in What If Flamingos Had Yo-Yos in Fantasia 2000. Yeah.
Cody just had like some Vietnam style.
So when I heard that come up, I was like, Kelli, you son of a gun, you did it.
Yeah,
you got the nostalgia. Yeah.
All right.
All right. With that, I have to go, unfortunately. But yeah, Andrew, please keep track of the scores, and then I will. I'll put them into the thing.
I will do what I can. Thank you for reminding me to do that. Okay, bye, buddy. Thank you so much.
See you guys, Brooklyn.
Okay. I will. Ooh. Okay. I will go next. I love classical music. I don't dive deep into it as much as I wish that I did, but I do really love it. I'm a theater guy, so like overtures and stuff like that always get to me, and opera I started getting into. And then so like this I've always really liked like Tchaikovsky and Stravinsky. I went to see a fantastic Stravinsky performance, and amazing. The Firebird Suite. But yeah, so this one is I hadn't ever really heard about him until you sent me that first one. I think it was the Egyptian.
The Egyptian.
Yeah. And a little background, we were supposed to have Kelli on for another episode. Scheduling just wouldn't work in her favor. So she had already sent that, and I was curious, and I listened to it, and it's fucking fantastic. What do you want me to say? This one is also really good. I think it was Personages with Long Ears. It was the one with the kind of like sharp strings, just like the but for some reason it just worked really, really well. Fossils was really nice. Just like the piano in Fossils in general, just like hit some core part of my brain for some reason. And then there's one that will be my favorite that I've heard pop up before that I didn't realize was this guy.
I think I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, the Try Guys seem to use it a lot. But yeah, no, it's an incredible piece. I'm really happy that you brought it to us today.
So I am also a pretentious hack who loves classical music. I feel like it's just one of those things where like it's so where how do I say this? I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to classical music, and I definitely would never say like, oh, I'm an obsessive fan. I love listening to classical music, especially late at night, or just I like Mozart stuff. I'm never gonna be like, oh, I can tell you Beethoven's Symphony Ninth and all the interest, the way he did everything and all that sort of stuff. I just like listening to the music, and especially as you had mentioned, Kelly, like a lot of classical music appears in films, and I watch a lot of films. So when I hear a piece and I go, oh, that makes it sound epic, I know, right? Me. But like I just have always loved just that sort of vibes, and this was not an album I was familiar with. Listening to it was just like, oh, okay, like you were saying, it's sort of a beginner's guide to classical music, and you sort of get not necessarily a tone, but like you get different moods, I guess, with each piece. And I didn't really realize that each one is named after like an animal or some sort of thing, I guess you could say. But like really, as you were saying, like listening to each one and going like, oh, okay, I can sort of imagine the visuals of it is something I'm a big fan of. It's like listening to something and sort of creating the visuals in my head, and I really got that from this album. I think the Kangaroo is, I don't think it's my favorite, but definitely a highlight of the album. I mean, also I really like The Elephant. I think that was a nice piece, and that, like you were saying, made me really think about just like elephants in the plains of Africa or something, each with its step and all that. I thought that was good. It's just I really want to talk about. I'm just going to get to it because I was unsure of this. The piece Aquarium. Spoiler alert, that's my favorite piece of the sound.
Yeah.
I've heard that so often. And for some reason, I thought this was composed by Ennio Morricone because this piece shows up in Days of Heaven. And so I was just like, well, that's the Ennio Morricone piece. So it was not composed by him. It was used for the film, which Terrence Malick, all of his movies use classical music. So now I'm just like, okay, that makes so much sense. But I just Aquarium is just like, I've heard that so many times, whether it's in an episode of The Simpsons or Kelly, I don't know if it's the same for you, but Aqua.
I was going to say, we use it at the aquarium.
Yes. Aqua.
And the Singapore one as well.
Which is like a aquarium, like SeaWorld or some sort of, place where, and just the ads would always be this. And I'm like, okay, I'm now just, it's called Aquarium. Makes perfect sense. It fits that. It totally fits. So I very much enjoyed this album. It's an easy enough album to listen to. There are certain tracks that are under a minute and they give you enough to know what it is. But it was really nice to just have something that was like calm and melodic, and I didn't have to really think about the lyrics or just like it was a very easy album to listen to. So
very easy.
And I very much enjoyed it. Yes.
I'm a big classical music guy. I just fucking love it, man. Like,
you're in the minority.
Aaron Copeland fan.
When those fucking strings just start playing. Okay, listen. I don't fucking get this shit at all. And you said this is for dummies, so I failed the test miserably. Listen, I didn't hate it. It's just never going to be something I go towards, like, at all. I remember when I was in school and they're like, why don't you put on classical music while you like work? Like, it will help you. I've never wanted to smash something more in my life while I'm doing something by than hearing this stuff. It does not soothe me. It does not calm. I think it's very talented. I think it's great things. The best thing this thing had going for it is 24 minutes. So I was not in there for a long time. So I was having fun. First time through, then you started talking. But then the first time through, I was like, I thought this was about animals. Is there animals somewhere? Like, where are we at? And then I went and read all the thing. I'm like, oh, shit, there's animals everywhere. And then I listened and I was like, oh, it's interesting how they were able to tie in all the, like, different sounds. So that was cool. That was interesting. There was different, like, the one aquarium, I was like, oh, that does feel a little bit Harry Potter-ish. I'm like, I'm on board with this. I can get behind this. So there was stuff that I did enjoy. It's just never, it's like silent films that people are like, I'm okay with sitting in there. I don't have the attention span. God did not, the higher maker, whatever, did not make me that way. I'm miserable. Get me the hell out of there. Talk for the love of God. So same thing with this. Sing for the love of God.
Just
Give
talk.
me something.
Just
say something. Say something. I don't know when we're moving on. I don't know where we're at. It was like, I did find it when I was going to sleep, which may sound awful.
No, I get that.
But it was more of a calming thing when I was ready to go to bed than when I thought. So maybe that's where classical music resides for me. But overall, I think it's impressive. I think that's one of the most impressive things people can do and all that shit. I think that's insane. Playing an instrument in general, insane. It's just not my cup of tea. I'm not going to downgrade it. And by the way, favorite and least favorite is going to be real hard for me on this one, just to let you all know.
Well, that's why I picked this one over picking the Egyptian again, because the Egyptian's like a 3-part one and it's like 10 minutes each one. And I think that is hard with classical music. And I've been enjoying it a lot more when we've been going to see it, because when you actually see the people bowing and you see people playing the music, it sinks in a bit more. It is like, we talk about like art, Alan and I, it's like sometimes we'll go to a dance and it's like, I don't know what they're trying to tell me, like a ballet or something. It's like, I don't know what we're doing here right now. It's hard to process these sorts of theatrical art sometimes. So when you actually are seeing, as opposed to just hearing it, it sinks in a little bit more. I had a point. I've lost it. I'm sorry. I'm sick. Playing the music. Oh, yes, because when you go to orchestras and they do the different movements, they'll have like a pause in between, and it's really awkward not to clap. And so you just sit there and you automatically go, and Ali grips my leg. He's like, Kelly, I need a clap. But all you hear is just people turning their pages and coughing and setting up for the next case. But that's why I picked this one, because I thought it was a bit more distinctive and a bit more like a traditional album where you can pick out what hit with you a bit more.
All right. Well, Kelly, give us your score, your favorite and your least favorite then.
Oh, it's a 10. Like I said, it's a great example of classical. My favorite's always going to be the Swan. That's the one I came into going like, oh, that's the one I really know. And just the beautiful gliding moment of it all, I think is lovely. My least favorite's actually what we were talking about before with the donkey one, because I can't handle the sharp string. I can't handle that womp. Like, that snails on a chalkboard a little bit. So, that one.
See, I love dissonance stuff like that, but
thank you. Dissonance is what it is. I don't fuck with that. I like the lyrical, beautiful, romantic-y shit.
Oh, I'm all over that dissonant, atonal shit. Let's go to Cody. What do you think about dissonant and atonal versus?
Great shit, right there, man. So I wanted to vote for Wild Asses because I just like the title. But I'll say my favorite was Aquarium. I think that was the one I could tie in the most. The one that least favorite, sure. I don't know. What's the longest one on it? Whatever the longest one is.
Introduction.
Sure, that's
like 2 minutes.
fine. That's fine. And score, I'm gonna be respectful because I'm gonna like a 7. I think people listening to it that love classical will have zero problems, probably really enjoy it. For me, it's just not my cup of tea, but I'm not gonna bomb it with a bad grade like I did Coho's terrible album, whatever he brought that one time.
Man, hey, don't forget, Cody. Look up on your phone, sheeple. Jake.
I am gonna give it an 8 out of 10. A respectable 8. I really enjoyed the album. I'm not gonna act like every song was like something super memorable to me, but there were a lot of great tracks that I really enjoyed listening to. I know my favorite was Aquarium, but I do want to shout out Aviary and Kangaroo and the Elephant as other tracks that I really enjoyed. I'm not going to say what my least favorite one was because there's too many and I can't pinpoint certain ones. So, like, I think the whole experience of the entire album works well without me just pinpointing certain tracks. So I'm going to say, yeah, that's what I'm going to say. I don't have a least favorite.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you, Jake. I'm also giving it a solid 8. Aquarium is also my favorite track. Just like the lightness of the strings as it just kind of cascades is absolutely gorgeous.
I hated how you just said all that, but that's fair.
My least favorite is track 4, which would be Tortoises. It definitely fits the animal that it was going for. Just dragged, real slow.
What did you hate? So it nailed what it was going for, and you're gonna hate on it for it. Wild.
I'm a hater.
It'd be really weird if it was tortoises and it was fast. Like, what do we do? Well, okay, fair enough.
Okay, let's move on to the next album, which will be mine. That one being Starfire by Caitlyn Smith. So Caitlyn Smith, this is her debut album. When Monument Records reopened its doors, they signed 2 artists. Caitlyn Smith being one of them, and they didn't push her as much as they pushed the other person that they signed. That person being Walker Hayes. Yeah, the fancy like guy.
Oh, that is.
Yeah, sorry.
If you're listening, it's the fancy like Applebee's song guy.
I like that guy.
Yeah. And I personally think that this is one of the best albums of the 2010s in terms of vocal performance, because her singing, I think, is absolutely incredible. I think that she's got such a rich, soulful timbre to her voice, but the way that she just throws her soul into these lyrics is just absolutely inspiring. I also really like her as a songwriter. Some of these songs, just like the imagery that she creates for songs like East Side Restaurant and Scenes from a Corner Booth at Closing Time on a Tuesday, which sounds like it should be an album from Infinity on High era Fall Out Boy with that title. But it's absolutely incredible. And then you have songs like Tacoma and Before You Call Me Baby. And it's just like, it's absolutely incredible. It's just like a wonderful balance of just excellent lyricism, fantastic singing, great production, and it was its own voice when it came to country music in like Nashville in particular. And it just kind of got buried for some reason, even though she's written for like Miley Cyrus, Garth Brooks, Casey Elephant, and like all of these people. So it's one of my favorite albums of that decade, and I got to do the thing. Of course, I have it on vinyl as well because I'm pretentious. So I'm very curious to hear what other people's thoughts are on this album. I had brought a country album before to Jake, and I know that Jake wasn't necessarily a fan of that one. Hopefully, this one hit a little bit better.
So, Bar, you're my friend.
Oh God,
you're a hack like me. We're both pretentious hacks. I didn't hate this album.
Okay.
But I just didn't find any of it interesting enough for me to be captivated by her music. Like a lot of it just felt like I've heard this stuff before. I'm not an expert when it comes to music and the way I am with film and where I can articulate my feelings. But a lot of the tracks, especially early in the first 3 albums, three songs, I did not particularly find memorable. There were a couple later down that I was like, okay, I'm getting more of her personality, her voice, and I think that's the best thing about the album is her vocals. But I just found a lot of it to be female pop artisty, country-ish influence, where I'm just like, I feel like I've just heard this like 100 times with different artists. I'm sorry, but it's just not my, like with Cody with Carnival of Animals, just not my genre of expertise or my taste when it comes to music. But there was at least 2 tracks that I'll talk about later that I particularly enjoyed.
Jake, next time I'm bringing you an R&B album or soul or something else. I promise.
I'll go because I'm assuming you want to save Cody's opinion till last.
Sure.
I echo a lot of what Jake's saying in that Bar, we agree on so much a lot of the time, but this is the wavelength we're just not on the same. And it's going to be really hard to shit on it to your face, especially when you have the album next to you. Like, that makes it really rough as also a vinyl collector.
Kelli, say it to the album's face. Just say it.
Say it to the album's face. As someone who loves Teen Titans, all I could think is with Starfire is like, how dare you stand where she stood? Like, you can't have an album called Starfire and not have a banger song on it. A lot of what Jake's saying, I think you articulated a lot nicer than I can, because I feel like I really like the opening track. I really like Before You Call Me Baby, and it was really bluesy country sort of vibes, and I'm like, oh yeah, like you can serve me a plate of this and I'm fine. And then for a lot of food references in the album, like down the track, I was sort of like, this isn't the meal that I saw on the menu and I don't want to eat it. By about 5 tracks in, I'm like, this bitch is whining, and I was just really over it. Like, I couldn't. I liked the first song a lot, and then the rest of the album is a bit of a blur to me. The voice is nice. I will agree on the voice, especially on the Before You Call Me Baby, like those big soaring notes. I did very much enjoy that.
Cody, should I read Brooklyn's thoughts on this before I get to you, or do you just fire away?
Sure, buddy, go ahead. You can let Brooklyn's thoughts go.
Brooklyn's thoughts. Great opening run from Before You Call Me Baby to Don't Give Up on My Love. Another one of my favorite songs, personally. Caitlyn's voice is truly breathtaking at times. However, there's not a lot in the production that makes her stand out from other staples of the genre. He asks, Is This Town is Killing Me meant to be a commentary on the Nashville country scene? It's just more breaking into the Nashville country scene more than anything. And that's it before he gives favorite and least favorites. So, Cody, let me get my bulletproof vest on for a second.
You're going to aim for your head, so I'm going to aim for your head, so that's fine. Listen. Of all the people, I don't know how their music tastes are, Kelli or Jake, but I'm heavy into country music. I love country music, but I don't love this country music. I don't love this new country music that is coming. And I'm not one of those like, damn, it was better in my generation. No, I think country music of one thing, like of all genres, like has some true like powerhouse female artists that
Agreed.
like has spoken about heartbreak and divorce and breakups and anger, and like it's been like the one genre that they've been able to like put their boots down and have a place. And I would just like Patsy Cline and Loretta Lynn, and like listening to this, they'd be like, shut the fuck up. Like, why are you like, why? And it's not disrespect. Like, I've just heard heartbreak songs done better. And it seems like whoever was behind the production of this didn't care for her like take on it, because the words were good. It had good like when you break down the lyrics of it, it has good things what she's saying. But the stuff put behind those words come off very monotone, very like out of a factory, formulaic. Like, we've done this before. Female, young, heartbreak. Let's talk about where she grew up. Let's talk about getting over a man. Like, it didn't seem like it was real, authentic, anything. It felt forced the entire time. We'll get to one of the worst songs, but like I heard one of the songs and I just like started like doing that. I was just like, stop. And again, granted, I've heard the Applebee's guy. Sure, she should have got pushed over him. But overall, I can kind of see why it didn't like pan out fully, like overall. Like, where it was a mixed bag for me. And again, I'm probably one of those people that like could get behind a country album because I love country music.
It's funny because her first 2 albums are kind of like lateral moves, and they both kind of got left behind in the dust. And then once she started, in my opinion, to become a little bit more generic, that's when Nashville Country was like, oh, let's give this girl a CMA nomination for Breakout Artist of the Year. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding? Out of like the sleeper album that she had, the one that literally is just like sounds like everything else that country music is pushing, like, get out of here. I think that sadly her music has gotten more generic the more she's gone on. But this album to me is still very special. But I understand where everyone is coming from.
Are there any Taylor Swift fans here?
I like her. I'm not as big as a
in
fan
my
as
house.
Scott.
We have sworn an oath that we can't say anything bad. So go ahead.
Okay, well, you don't have to say. I'll say something. I just like when I hear this album, I just think of Taylor Swift's music. I'm not a fan of her.
You said the same thing about the last one.
Did I really? Fuck.
Yes.
It's just
I
I feel
was
like
the same
she.
wavelength. So
she-
yeah.
This
I don't wanna
does
act like
feel
she's
like
ruined.
early. This feels like early her, like when she was in
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
Just
I'm
with
not
less
gonna act
soul
like
and
she's
blues.
ruined the country
Or more.
genre or the country pop, whatever you want to, whatever
Oh, that's
specifically.
fair. Saturated
categories.
it.
But I feel like it has been a little bit saturated because when I just hear this, I'm just like, it has the same sound as Swift's earlier stuff when she really was like half country, half pop. And I don't sense any sort of, I don't get a like an identity from it.
I think it's so hard for female country artists right now to branch out because you either have to have the most unique voice that sets you apart from everybody else. That's interesting because sing about a heartbreak, sing about a truck, sing about something like that, sing about a hometown, like something to make you relatable into the thing. But if you don't have a backing or like you need something and I don't the one thing that I was missing from this entire album was where's the song? Because they all felt like a song, but it didn't feel like there was the song. And when you think of a country music artist, there's dumb country like arena $3,000 boot country singers that just don't know about farming, but they'll sing about farming. These people are like, but I was looking at this the entire time of like, where's your one like, if all else fails, this. And I was like, when I even got to Starfire, I was like, this is missing everything that I needed, like anything to be like. I don't know. It felt weird.
Do you have a take on that? Do you think there's a song that's like
a song?
Like, I think there is a song, and it's because it's so minimalist that it makes you focus on the lyrics. Because it makes you focus on her as a singer and a vocalist, and her as a lyricist. Because I can understand where you're coming from with that. Because a lot of this album can kind of sound like it's on the same level. I can respect that opinion because I do see where you're coming from. I also agree with you what you said on women in country music. Like, for some reason, women in country music nowadays just like get completely pushed to the side. Like Casey Musgraves and Sam Hunt are in the exact same record label, and for some reason they've just constantly pushed Sam Hunt out there and just buried all of Casey Musgraves' songs. Like, I agree.
mean, they're still relying on like the classics. Like they're wanting Reba to show up and Carrie Underwood and like all the people that have been around for decades at this
Carrie
point.
Carrie Underwood and why am I blanking on her name
Miranda
right now?
Lambert. I think she's
Miranda
like,
Lambert.
Yeah.
Like, and I love Miranda Lambert, but like country radio is just so stuck on those two that they've just never wanted to deviate, which is sad.
Before I assume we're going to go into ranking soon.
Yes.
I'm not going to say my favorite songs. We'll talk about that in a sec. But I do want to shout out "Don't Give Up on My Love." I think that's like I think that was when I was like, oh, I'm finally hearing a bit of a voice, and maybe because that song's a little bit more upbeat. It's a little bit, I guess, not to articulate well, but it's a louder song than all the other ones, and I think I got more out of that than most of the other songs. But I think that's a good one.
Okay. So I'm going to give my score first because I'm absolutely going to have the highest score here.
I think there's a chance.
Yeah.
And while I absolutely respect and understand where y'all are coming from, to me, this album is still a 9.5. I still think that the vocals on this are absolutely fantastic. I still think that the songwriting on this is absolutely amazing. I do get a little bit of the genericism, which is why it's not higher for me. But this album is still very close to me and very personal to me. I love listening to this one. Brooklyn gave it a 7 out of 10. His least favorite song. Oh, I forgot about that. My favorite song on this album is probably "This Town Is Killing Me." It's the song I was alluding to earlier, where it feels like the most personal. It feels like the most honest. And it's just so stripped back that you are forced to listen to the lyrics and kind of connect with her on that. But shout out to Tacoma and East Side Restaurant, because the vocals on that and the Viennese strings on East Side Restaurant, beautiful. Least favorite song is Contact High. That's the one that I agree. It's just so generic. I've heard that done multiple times, even though I still like the way that she's doing it. It's like, I've heard this metaphor used so many times. I mean, you may as well say your love is my drug. So, let's go to Kelli.
Kelli, I'm going to give it a 6 because I don't think it's very offensive. And I think, like what we're sort of saying, like if you are an enjoyer of that, I think then it can be very up your alley. There's nothing in it I'm like, that was garbage and a waste of an hour. I'm just like, yeah, it was. I really like Before You Call Me Baby. That's the hook. And I think that's what we were sort of saying with, like, there's no that song. There was just a lot of songs, like, I didn't remember or have in my brain afterwards be able to hum or things like that. But that was one of them. And I did like East Side Restaurant as well for the slower piano-y moments. I did not like Starfire because I'm always going to be more critical of what you name your album track after. Like, if that's not a fucking fire banger song, what are we doing here? And again, that was when I was like ready for it. And yeah, it's very unfair to come in with like such a personal bias, but I'm like, if you do not
needs to take some notes from Madonna when it comes to Ray of Light and music as her albums and picking the titular song for that.
Okay, you know what? Yeah. You got a point there. That was the one. That was like one of 3 songs on that album that I was like, that's good. By the way, Brooklyn's least favorite was Scenes from a Corner Booth at Closing Time on a Tuesday. Didn't like how she seemed to add more twang when she was doing the whispery voice.
More twang.
His favorite was Tacoma, and he goes, "The key change, that is all."
We all remember the key change, right, Kelli? You remember the key change?
Oh,
that one.
It's literally after the music drops and she comes back in with her vocals.
Oh, that.
Yeah. He says honorable mention to Contact High because, of course, it's Brooklyn. Before You Call Me Baby and Do You Think About Me? Cody, let's go to you next.
5.9.
Okay.
So the reason why Carnival I give a pass because that's just not my genre. So I respect what they are. This is mine, and I feel like there's a bad version of it. I feel like this was a studio produced album instead of an artist produced album. Where they were like, hey, we have this young artist, go in the artist, sing about these are the things I want you to hit, now hit them. Least favorite, Before You Call Me Baby, because I was like, oh, we're gonna get close to something. Do You Think About Me? I Can't Stand. I think that's where it felt right off a hill for me. It was so whiny. So yeah. But I respect you, Bar.
I respect
next time you want to bring something, Loretta Lynn has a few good albums. Patsy Cline, Reba McEntire. There's a lot out there. Dolly Parton. There's a lot you can go to. You don't.
I thought about bringing out Bobby Gentry for this one.
So. Ooh, you would have got high rating for me.
All right, Jake. Kill me.
I'm going to also give it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, it's not It's not a bad album. It's just not a memorable one. I mean,
it's higher than what you gave the last one.
Yeah. I do think it has one really, really good song and a song that I'm probably going to listen to after this, East Side Restaurant. I just was like, this is something that I can connect to, and I really like her vocals, but I also just like how like emotional the song is. Like it sounds really powerful. I'm not someone who really dissects and like talks about lyrics just because that's not sort of my sort of focus when I like the vibe and the feel of a song more so. So when I heard East Side Restaurant, I was like, oh, I really emotionally was able to connect to it. So that's my favorite. My least favorite is every other song that's not East Side Restaurant or Don't Give Up on My Love. Because I cannot retain anything from those other songs. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's my cop-out answer.
Okay. Man, I knew I should have picked the other album I was considering for this one. No.
You should have.
Well, yeah, I probably should have, honestly. All right, Jake. We're going to end off with you. Tell us more about Begin to Hope by Regina Spektor.
Regina Spektor, Russian-born artist. She went to New York, part of the anti-folk scene. I'm not going to act like I know any of this. I just read her Wikipedia page and was like, okay, cool. I really like her vocals. I have a specific memory of Regina Spektor, and that is watching the second Narnia film when I was in cinemas. It ends with a song that she wrote for the movie called The Call, and it like emotionally devastated me. It's a very, the scene of the movie that plays out is like heartbreaking, but the song on top of it is just like, it's borderline manipulative, but I really much connected to the song, and I remember crying once the movie was done. So it was very effective to me. And so over the years, I've sort of been like, oh, I would like to just sort of really wanted an excuse to get into more of her music. And there's a couple of tracks from this album that I've listened to very frequently, but I really wanted to fully just explore it. So I thought this would be a good excuse. And I'm a big fan of her vocals. Like, and her as a pianist, like the way how she plays the piano. Like, I get so much personality from her through her vocals and the way she plays that that's like enough for me to really connect with. And there are certain songs on the album that I just find really powerful emotionally. We'll talk about one later that really connected, but I just liked how each song doesn't sound necessarily. A little bit later, it sounds a little samey, but there's a lot of personality with each of the tracks, and they all try to do something different. I think Edit is one that I was not expecting her to be able to do. There's a lot more of a digital sound to that, and I always just think of her as more, I don't want to say classic, but like analog, I guess. But you really see her playing with the sound from the first track, Fidelity, which is like one of her most popular and well-known songs. I'm such a slut for the piano, and I really love. Anytime I hear it, I'm just like, beautiful. I just watched A Real Pain, and there's so much, and all the music is Chopin. So Chopin, so I could just like listen. I'm just like, oh, it's so beautiful, the piano. So I generally just try to like, I generally am just so interested in piano-based songs, and that's like almost all of her songs on this album. Begin the Hope, yeah, I think it's great. Love it. Good shit.
I'm going to ask something real quick. Has anyone listened to this album before?
No. Cool.
You actually unlocked a weird memory with me because back like when I was in high school, I used to be able to walk to my local library. I didn't have an iPhone or anything like that, so I had like the little CD player, and for some reason, going into like song 3 of this album, it unlocked a memory of me going to my library and just randomly picking this CD to rent from my library, listening to it on the bus to school, and it was just a wild flashback. But I want to start with Kelli on this one.
Oh, okay. Yes, so I'm very much in the same boat, Jake. Like, this is an artist I've heard of and heard some of the biggies, but hadn't heard this album. So when you picked it, I'm like, yes. It was on my, like, saved Spotify, because from, like, Music League and stuff like that, like, people have thrown recommendations and stuff, and I've always been like, I always really enjoy it. And I'm very much the same. I'm a slut for the piano. We need to talk Jack's Mannequin. I'm going to send you some stuff afterwards. Yes. And it seems to be this very 2000s. It lives very mid-2000s as well, which I just love. And I had a very similar, and I wouldn't say critique, I would say observation that every song really was so different, and I was sort of like, if you didn't know her already, I don't know if you get a good sense of who she is as an artist, because it is so eclectic tonally, but at the same time, isn't that what it is? So I found that just an interesting thought. No, we're not going to save it. We're going to talk about Saint-Saens now, because it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful song.
It's the best song on the album.
It's the best song on the album.
Is it?
Yes. It
Cody?
is.
Okay. Fuck you guys. Jake and I are going to talk about Saint-Saens now. You can sit in the corner and wait as we talk about Saint-Saens.
Hey, Cody, you want to talk about Geno Smith getting traded to the Raiders?
This is the one I'd heard before, and is very what I love in an artist, someone who's very vulnerable. And so when you hear words like "You are my sweetest downfall," "I loved you first," and I love the vocals as well. And there's something she's doing where she just puts enough vibrato in it. So it's that "I loved you first," and it sounds like a bird trilling almost. It's just really lovely. But what I found, and where it ties back to all the way, call back to the start of the episode, YouTube to MP3. When I hadn't heard this album before, and I played Saint-Saens, I'm like, that's not what I had on my iPod growing up. Apparently, I've downloaded a different version of this song that is like the 3-minute 50 version, and is at a much slower pace, a much slower tempo, a much more cerebralis gravity tempo. And I enjoyed that one a lot more. But the imagery she's able to have, and as I sort of said before, like, I'm very not a romantic person, but when she sings "And he kissed me to the morning light," I'm like, that makes me giddy inside. Like, that's a relationship ideal. It's the sort of thing you read about watching movies, all that sort of thing. So I did love that one, and being able to find more songs off the album that I'm definitely going to be going back to, like Après More, where she starts singing in Russian. I'm like, fuck yes, go off, girl. I loved that. Yeah, so this, and very just quirky artist that I was just really relating to a lot of the things. But please tell me I'm not alone in Hotel Song when she goes, oh, it's Linda Ronstadt, Just One Look, isn't it? Other people heard that, didn't they?
Oh, fuck.
I don't know Just One Look, sorry.
Come on, back me up, buddy.
I didn't connect it until you did that.
It is. It's the exact same phrase.
It's the exact
Thank you.
same.
Thank you.
No, you're right. You're right.
But then she'll come out with random lyrics about stuff, which I just kind of really appreciate. And so the music is being really classical inspired. She's classical pianist, like music box. And then it's like, I put my face in the sink. Or in that Hotel Song, I'm like, I'm really vibing with this. And then she just starts going like, a little bag of cocaine. And I'm like, oh, that's what we're doing now. It's some of that shit comes out of left field a little bit. But you got to respect an artist that writes the observational humor of lyrics, and I just kind of really dig that. Thank you.
Cody, do you want to go next, or do you want me to go next?
I can go. So this, I don't have this experience, but when you go cook a lobster or a crab and you drop it into the boiling water, what this album was to me is if you drop me in the boiling water and you keep pulling me out and then they're dropping me, because I'm like, hey, I'm free, I'm getting, oh, this is not, oh, what the hell, why am I on fire again? Why do I hate my life right now? Oh, I'm out again. Like, I just kept getting ducked. Because, like, so I have no fucking idea who this person is. Zero clue. Okay? Then the first song on the album, I was like, I've heard that. I know exactly that song. The rest of it, not a clue. So there are songs that I think Saint-Saens is the best song on the album. I think I was like, it's super good. I also like the first song on the album, but there were songs that could easily make like the top songs that I've ever hated in my entire, like, I hate this song. Like, I don't like this song.
I messaged Brooklyn that. I was like, I think Cody's gonna hate a lot of this.
Yeah, it was just every song was different, which is interesting. But when you do that in an album, you're taking a risk where, you walk a very fine line, because you can do everything the same and it feels the same thing and boring and tread, or she's clearly a very her lyrics are really good, so that helps her a lot of the ways for this. But when you shoot that shot, it just sometimes doesn't pay off for me. So yeah, I overall didn't hate it, but there was parts that I definitely did hate.
I was listening to it and I'm like tonal whiplash sometimes. That's what I thought. Like I'm one thing to the next thing to the next thing was jarring.
100%. I feel like what we're talking about, the sort of how the tone can just change like that. Like you get a song like 20 Years of Snow, which I think is really nice and sort of, I won't say minimal, but it's very like, there's more of a personal story to that song. But then you have something like That Time and it feels like her humor comes out. I mean, it opens with the line, "Do you remember the time when I found a human tooth down on Delancey?" Like she had, that's what I really like about the album is that you really get a sense of her humor and her personality more so than just her like music aesthetics, because each song does vary, so you really get a sense of just like her I was saying like her personality. So that's something that I really gravitate more so to than say her lyrics, even though there are certain songs that I think are really well written. Like we'll talk more about Samson later, but like just the fact that she's decided
talk about it now.
I mean, we can talk about it now. I just love that she decided to like put a spin on like a story in the Bible, like the story of Samson and Delilah, and be like, what if I do it from her point of view? And be like, no, the Bible didn't mention us, but like it's doing it in a way of like, no, like it wasn't like it deceives. I wasn't deceiving him. Like we were in love, and this happened. And I know that some people say that it could also be taken as like a metaphor for cancer and leukemia because he starts losing his hair. I think that's like really beautiful. So there's just I'm not really a lyric driven person, but there are certain songs where I'm just like, oh man, the lyrics of this is just like really powerful.
I'm gonna get into Brooklyn's thoughts first. Brooklyn says, the first listen, I was worried that it would be too stagnant with how prominent the piano is. Second time around was better, getting to notice all the nuances and styles she tries to explore. You can tell that she's influenced by people like Joni Mitchell and Alanis Morissette in her composition and delivery. By the time Summer in the City hits you, you unfortunately start to feel the length of the record.
I 100% agree. I love this album, but I do think that it starts to get, and I apologize because I picked the longest album here. And even when it got to, I think once it got after Lady, I think that's Summer in the City, like that's when I was like, okay.
There's some that were like B tracks. They didn't need to make the album.
I do believe this is actually not the original album that was released. I believe this is like a special edition. Don't
because there's bonus tracks, right? Like I was bonus versions or whatever.
I think there was something like that, but I definitely did feel the length at a certain point.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem with this album is that it's too damn long. There's a couple songs towards the end that you really could have just cut and missed absolutely nothing. So there was a time between, I want to say like 2003 to 2014 where it was a golden era for what I call white girl at a piano at a cafe.
Yeah.
Yeah. 1,000 miles.
Or we can call
it
or we can call it Barnes and Noble core. Yeah, and Regina Spektor definitely falls into it. She's kind of the shadow version of it, though, because she is a lot more unique than a lot of those other artists that came out at that time, doing the same thing. But there is a lot I do like on this album. I do like some of the playfulness and the wittiness, but I also really like when she kind of takes the turn towards a little bit more like harder and just like a little bit, I'm trying to think of a good word for it. But when she kind of gets down to like the nitty gritty darkness of stuff like Après Moi. And like my favorite song of her of all time is All the Rowboats, because like that's just like the perfect balance of her stuff. And I think with this album, it's a debut. It's like the prototypical debut where she's kind of finding her voice. You can see the talent there, you can see the craftsmanship there, but I don't think that she had quite taken all of that and made the perfect blend of what would make her great to begin at this point. I do love Samson. It is one of the best songs on the album. And I like the flightiness of Fidelity. I really loved Field Below because there was that little bit of like bluesiness to it, which just like really hit me in my blues nerd brain part. But then you get towards the end, and a lot of it starts to sound like stream of consciousness songs.
Yes.
Mhm.
Where
That's a
she
good way to
just
put it.
kind of like wrote stuff down and then played it out and then just kind of like shipped it out that way. Which can work, but at that point it was just like not for me. Very good album overall. I respect it. But I think that, as I said, I think she was still finding her voice. So it's really interesting album to look at in the concept of time, like as a historical piece almost. Any last thoughts before we wrap this one up?
No, Jake, you're not allowed to say anything else.
Go on, Jake.
No, I mean,
No, I'm
I
just-
was just trying to think if there's anything I hadn't said, but I'm pretty much happy with what's
Okay.
I'm just glad that I got to really like go into the album, and there were a couple of tracks that I completely wasn't familiar with that I'm not going to be listening to ever. I just want to shout out Better. I think that's a really good song. It's the second album, and that really was like after Fidelity. Okay, I think I know where it's going, and then Better comes. It's like, oh, okay, so we can go a little bit bigger with the sound, and I think that's like a really good one.
So, Jake, let's actually start with you since this is your album.
I'm going to give it a 9.5. I do think the biggest problem with the album is that it is too long. There are really good tracks, but I do think if it was just tighter, cut the fat out, it would be just like a perfect 10 out of 10 album for me. Obviously, my favorite song is Saint-Saens, as we talked about. It's just really heartbreaking, beautiful. I listen to that all the time. And I don't know if I really have like a least favorite because it would be just down to some of the tracks at the very end. I don't really want to say what my least favorite is just because I don't really particularly have one that I'm like super negative towards. But I do think Saint-Saens better, and yeah, on the radio I thought was quite good as well.
Okay. I'm going to give Brooklyn score. Brooklyn gave it a 6.5 out of 10.
Oh.
Not what I was expecting.
He gave like 8 different answers for favorite, so I'm literally just going to go up. Like,
Wow.
No. Those two things don't compute.
6.5. That's wild.
How does
I don't think
Okay,
that's
you
the
think you get
assignment.
Brooklyn and then he just does something completely just out of left field.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna just like pick 2 of them. He said, "Lady, love the mix of piano and sax," and he also picked "Hotel Song." He just goes like the beat of it. Okay.
6.5.
6.5. He also says Après Moi has this gothic Hellfire-esque feel
Yes.
to it. So his least favorite, he picked 2.
He's gonna say Samson for one of them. I swear to God.
No, he didn't. He didn't even
good.
mention Samson in his favorites either, though.
Wow.
Boo.
Least favorites, Summer in the City, feels like a filler song. And 20 Years of Snow, which actually really surprised me.
I like that one. Damn
Me
you.
too. Respect the swing she took, but doesn't quite hit the landing for me. Okay. I will go next. I have this at a 6.89. As I said, I think she's getting to where she would go eventually, but I don't think that she had quite hit it on this album. I have one favorite song because I'm not Brooklyn. Après Moi. Like, I love the...
Watch your mouth.
I swear like a sailor, Cody. I'm sorry. So,
Sir.
I love the tone of it, where it's supposed to be like, you know, realizing how hard rebuilding the fall of a government is when you're the ones who like dismantled the throne. What a great concept and what a great way of pulling it off, especially when she slips into the Russian. Amazing stuff. My least favorite song is Another Town. That one just really got on my nerves. I was just like, girl, what are you doing? You're annoying the shit out of me with this one. Cody, let's go to you.
7.5. Samson is the best song on it. Baobabs is the worst song. One of the worst songs. I hate that song to no end. It was, I don't know what she was trying in it. It just drove me up a wall. At one point when I was listening to it, I just started skipping. I just said, no, we're done with it. We don't need to continue this anymore. It's only 2 minutes, but it was painful. But I like the swing she takes in it. The highs I think are really high in this album. I think the lows are pretty low, but overall, I think she swings. And you gotta give her credit for that. And for me not knowing anything about her, she's super talented. That's for sure.
All right, Kelli, wrap this one up for us.
Yep, I give it an 8. I really enjoyed my time with it, and this one I'm definitely going to keep coming back to and want to be able to differentiate all the different tracks and things like that. So coming in already knowing Samson, I'm going to put that one to the side because that's the obvious. So I also really liked Après-Moi. I like when women go more into this cabaret, almost Eastern European feel to it all. So I think that's when her musicality is really coming through, and I like when people really infuse their background and it informs a lot, and just that different point of view, especially for about 2006. And then I liked Hotel Song a lot as well because I just got Let It Run Stand and then I couldn't get that out of my head. My least favorite is actually Fidelity. It's fucking twee. And I just can't handle that. I'm sorry. When you said the Barnes and Noble stuff, it reminded me of 1, 2, 3, 4 by Vice. I fucking hate that song. Wow. So I wasn't vibing with that at all. So I prefer when it's something like hardcore bangage on the piano. That's what I prefer. Then
okay.
No.
Okay. Well, real quick before we close this out, I need a favorite album that you did not bring to the table. Brooklyn will send me his later. He forgot to do that. I will go first. I mean, it's absolutely between two. It's definitely between Carnival of Animals and Begin to Hope. No. Yeah, I'm going Rumors.
What? Crazy.
Cody, what about you?
Oh, well, I can't pick mine. Oh God! What else did I give a 10 on this show? Bad Out of Hell. I'll go with that one. This small indie album that I enjoy so much.
Okay, Kelli.
I grew up with Rumors, so I can't. That's like saying who's your favorite band and you can't say the Beatles. Like that's the obvious. So I'm gonna go with Begin to Hope because that's the one that I'm going to go back to and has sparked some new enjoyment in my life. So props to that one.
You can go your own way then.
I thought we were about to get another.
Don't stop thinking about me, Cody.
I was excited because I thought for sure we were about to have another album go into the Turntable Hall of Fame, where everyone picks the same album except for the person who submitted it. Jake,
I'm picking Rumors. Yeah, it's the best. I love it. It was easy because it was the album I knew the most about going into this. So obviously I'm going in with a lot more experience with this album, but it's hard to deny how there's like at least 5, 6, 7 bangers that are just like widely regarded as ultimate memorable, the Fleetwood Mac's best song. So it's a great album, and I'm honestly probably going to want to keep listening to it after this. So yeah, it's great.
All right.
But shout out Bad Out of Hell because that is also like, if it wasn't for Rumors, that would be number 1.
Of course, yeah. All right, so thank you all for coming. Real quick, so next episode we're gonna have a bunch of Brooklyn's friends on that one. Pierce Clark and Robbie Doherty. We're also gonna have David Jimenez, who has been on the show before, who brought one of the top 10 albums of last season when it comes to score, with Clicks Modernos. So the albums on this episode are going to be one of these is going to be so funny. So Air Guitar by Sobs, Gravity by Our Lady Peace, Dark Horse by Nickelback.
Let's go, baby.
When a Man Loves a Woman by Percy Sledge. And 24 Karat Magic by Bruno Mars.
Really grateful to have been on this
Wait.
episode with you all today.
Somebody brought Nickelback?
Yeah, somebody brought Nickelback.
Hells yeah.
I wish I could be a fly on the wall for that one. I didn't even know who was. I missed who was going to be on it, but you know,
A bunch of Brooklyn's friends. Honestly,
I'm glad I'm here.
But I am very excited to have them on the show. This will be a very interesting conversation. So, Cody, Jake, Kelly, thank you all so much for coming on. We always love having you here. This is actually one of my favorite episodes that we've recorded. So,
and also we talked about two of the best albums of all time.
And we shit talked yours real bad. I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, I think this is the second episode in a row now where I've had the lowest scored album. It was either me or Brooklyn last.
I tried to tell you for the entire 500 Stones that you need to change yourself. So
it's weird because it I had more songs that you picked over Brooklyn's, so I'm gonna bring that up every time.
Okay, fair
enough. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for joining us. Keep on rocking and
keep your hands on the screen.